Look, I am your host, Emin, as always, and I am with my co-host, Fatih. It's been a really interesting week of football, I should say, not just football, sporting all across the world, with some unforeseeable events, if you like.
A completely random event, if you want to call that.
Something unseen before, probably, in the world of football, but we'll discuss that later in the show after we've done our wrap-up of the Champions League. You want to get straight into it, Fats?
Yeah, let's cover the games that actually did end up playing throughout this week and a bit of last week as well. So, let's just get straight into it.
Yeah, so Leipzig-Tottenham, of course, Leipzig playing at home. Huge advantage because they won their away fixture against Tottenham, 1-0, and they came out and showed what a dominant side they were again today. This week, winning 3-0.
Complete demolishing them.
Yeah, to go out 4-0 on aggregate, I think, is a little bit disappointing, especially for an EPL team, especially for Tottenham, who played semi-finals Champions League last season.
And a Mourinho team.
Sabitzer getting 2 goals, of course. The interesting thing was, Forsberg jumps on for Sabitzer, and the first touch of the ball gets his goal. So it was like beautiful.
Perfect night for the Germans.
Perfect night for the Germans, but I think that position was just, all right, we're going to score from this position tonight.
It was literally just perfectly set up. I mean, now, like, you look at the game itself, you look at both legs, to be honest, even when they were playing at London, Tottenham never really looked like they were into it. I know they're missing players, Son's out, Kane, like the attacking firepower is gone out of that team at the moment, but RB Leipzig controlled both legs. Like, it was like they never got out of second gear in this game. If you look at the whole game in general, I think 4-0 on aggregate is a worst case scenario for Tottenham, because that first leg could have easily been 3-4-0 to RB Leipzig, and I reckon if they went full pedal to the metal in this leg, you're probably looking at another hammering in Germany for Tottenham. So, look, 4-0 is back to the drawing board for Mourinho and his men. They got to focus on the Premier League if it does happen to go ahead. But this is something they definitely need to learn from, because, again, they lost Son and Kane, and the whole team just started to fall apart. You got players that are not performing to their best. In Ndombele, absolutely getting criticised in the media, and even by his coach. The fans have absolutely turned on him, and this was I think it was a £60 million signing here, and it was supposed to be the solidifier for the midfield, and working with the defence and the attack and everything like that. But it just seems like everything's just falling apart for Tottenham at the moment. And I reckon that game is the perfect example. They never looked like they were chasing a 1-0 loss. It's not like, okay, we're just going to go out and smash this team. It was more like, okay, let's just see what happens. And, 10 minutes in, RB Leipzig take the lead. It was pretty much just all cruise control for the Germans from there. Yeah,
look, you bring up a valid point about 2 main players being out, but let's be honest here, and I'm not being I hope not harsh of Tottenham, but I don't think they've ever had control of the reins all season. I mean, they've been sitting at the bottom of the table early season. I mean, Mourinho came, not much changed. Can you blame Mourinho? I don't know. He hasn't had much input on shaping the team that he wants to build. But when do you, as a Tottenham fan, start to get on Mourinho's back thinking, come on, man, you need to make some different changes here?
Oh, look, it's definitely it's a write-off season for Mourinho. Whether it's Champions League, Premier League, I think from a Premier League perspective, it was always going to be, all right, we're Tottenham. We're Champions League finalists last year. We should be able to at least be competing for 4th. I think if you swapped where Leicester City is and Tottenham will look at that and go, okay, an average season so far. But then again, my apologies, they wouldn't have got rid of Pochettino to begin with then. And as soon as they got rid of Pochettino, they went on that 2-3 game winning streak, and they thought, okay, Tottenham's back. And then injuries, and you can just see that this wasn't Mourinho's team. This isn't Mourinho's team. And the fans will look at that and go, okay, you know what? He hasn't had that chance where, okay, let's see what Mourinho actually builds. Does this team move forward? Does this team start competing for Champions League, or, making these types of rounds versus teams like RB Leipzig and giving them a go for their money? But at the moment, from a fan perspective, not that I'm saying I'm a Tottenham fan, but just in general in football, you'd give this coach one full season to himself. And the way Tottenham are looking at the moment, because you got your new stadium built, okay? You need Champions League money for that. You can't afford to go non-Champions League for 4 or 5 years and lose all that 50, 60 million pounds worth of revenue that's potentially coming out of European football.
Yep.
So I think next year, transfer market, see what Mourinho does. Does he solidify his defence? Does he get someone else for the midfield? Does he get someone that, in case Kane gets injured or in case Son gets injured, who's the actual proper backups for these types of players? And are they actually worthy of stepping into these players' shoes? Because it's not easy to replace a 20-plus goal Kane in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see that in European football now as well.
Well, there's always the possibility that come next season, Kane's not going to be there due to being transferred anyway. I mean, his name is often mentioned with big clubs. So
Real Madrid.
Exactly. So I think a plan needs to be made, and Mourinho, with the experience that he has, obviously has a backup plan. He's probably got ideas in his head of players he wants to get on this team next season. But not only just a replacement for him in case he gets injured, but if Kane does transfer, then they're definitely going to need someone who's going to be their forward next season.
It also lies with, look, there's a lot of conversation going on, especially in the media perspective. Is Mourinho done? Because you look at the last couple of teams that he's actually gone to. Okay, he won the Europa League with Manchester United. Okay, but he got absolutely dominated in the Premier League by Man City. It was happening absolutely blinder of a season that year. And the old Mourinho wouldn't have allowed that.
Yeah.
But we also got to look at times have changed. If you look at when he first came to Chelsea, when he first went to Real Madrid, when he first went to Inter, as well, he had the ability to just go in, splash cash, and build the team he wanted. You know, it was, I think in 2004 and 2005, when he first came to Chelsea, he spent like 130 million pounds. Now, in this day and age, that buys you what? 3 players, max.
It gets you
sometimes
one Harry Maguire,
half a player. If you look at Mbappe or Neymar or something, like a superstar.
That's right.
He ended up buying 12 players. And in those players, you had players like Robin and Drogba and all this. People that didn't have the name that they would have now, but you go and try to buy, like you look at Sancho from Dortmund. He's already got a price tag of 120 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so is he done for from that perspective? Look, I would say so. I would say so because he's always been a type of manager to come in, fill the gaps that he needed, and this is my team. But to fill those gaps, you need a team that's actually willing to spend the money. Tottenham, they're not used to that. They're not used to going, okay, we're going to go and buy a £100 million player again and again and again. You know, it was easier at Chelsea. It's probably a lot easier at Real Madrid considering the financial backing that he had.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, you got to wait. You got to wait till the second season that he's in.
Just to bring the focus back to Leipzig, we don't want to take away anything away from them. 4-0 aggregate win here. Early on in the season, Fatih, we started to talk about how the Bundesliga has lost maybe that quality that it used to have a couple of years ago. We've got an aging league. It's not as exciting or as, how do we say it?
As dynamic as what
it used to be. I think personally that Leipzig has brought a little bit of this back. And with players like Timo Werner playing for them, young guys come into it, put in a little bit of competition against the big teams, Dortmund and Bayern Munich. Have they sort of livened up the league, in your opinion?
Yes and no at the same time. I mean, yeah, it is competition for teams like Bayern Munich and Dortmund. It's always been a 2-horse race in the Bundesliga. But now, in the Bundesliga at the moment, Leipzig is pretty much the most hated team in the comp at the moment because of how they originated. They're literally a paid. It's like a pay to win in FIFA. They were created in 2009 or 2009 2010. Within 10 years, they climbed up through the ranks. They didn't go straight to the Bundesliga. They started from the bottom. And because you got the financial backing of Red Bull, you're literally flying through the ranks. So whether you say, okay, are they giving competition? Yes. But this is literally, in my opinion, a pay-to-win team, sort of. Because, yeah, the financial backing goes against what Bundesliga is actually the historical sense of it, that it never existed for them. And I think there's also disputes with Hoffenheim, who's also trying to take that route. They are a team with history, but they're also trying to sort of buy their way to the top as well. So, look, it does create competition at the end of the day for teams like Bayern Munich, Dortmund, even if all the Wolfsburgs and Bayer Leverkusens and all that type of stuff. It's good from a fan perspective. It's good from a competition perspective. But whether that money keeps coming into the team is going to constantly be there. Like, I mean, what happens one year if RB Leipzig suddenly just drop out of form and finish 6th, 7th? Does the money just suddenly drop for this, or do they just go out and go, okay, we're going to spend £300 million to get ourselves back to the top?
Yeah, well, if in that situation, I think that Leipzig has to become a brand on its own, so they should be self-sufficient. If they're making Champions League, year after year, if they're doing well in the domestic league, then I don't think they're going to need that Red Bull backing as much. If they become
they're
their
owned
own
by
label.
Red Bull, they can't.
Okay.
RB.
Okay.
Red
I
Bull.
thought it was just a naming right. So
Nah, it's literally funded. You can even see it in their logo, the two bulls. So, look, they'll never move away, because at the end of the day, it's financial backing. Okay, it'll be like it's like what we make fun of with the future League One name, the Uber Eats League One. This is literally a Red Bull Leipzig. You take out the Red Bull, you make it RB Leipzig, and it adds that football element to it. So, look, again, that's what football is, but unfortunately.
Well, yeah. Well, they're not the only
money.
team that's paying to win at the moment. I mean, you could look at teams in the EPL owned by, kings of Saudi Arabia and stuff like that, who are doing exactly the same thing.
Exactly, and there's been so much conversation with Newcastle United at the moment, whether the Saudi prince is going to buy it, whether Floyd Mayweather's going to buy it. So, unfortunately, it's a business world now. It is what it is, but I think from a competition perspective, it's good for Bundesliga. Take out all the element of the money. It's just another guy that's trying to reach the top.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to see how they progress through, and to see if they have any more matches to play after this. To be honest,
as someone who is like mutual, especially unfortunately with Liverpool being out, they're almost to me like the Ajax of this season. They're the underdogs. So I've sort of got a soft spot for Leipzig at the moment.
it's something different.
Yeah. Moving on to our second game, Valencia playing Atalanta. Atalanta, another team sort of like Leipzig in the same category, where not much was expected of them before this season started. Atalanta have scored 83 goals in their 33 appearances this season. That's across all competitions. They're just a goal-scoring machine, and they showed it in the Champions League fixture against Valencia.
Main player showed it, scoring all 4 goals.
All 4 goals scored by the one player, Ilicic. Yes, that's it. Of course, Valencia with an unbelievable amount of injuries. They've got 2 centre-backs out with Mangala and Garay. They've got a right-back out with Piccini. They've got Vallejo as their left wing, who's can be an efficient player, who's out. They've got Maxi Gomez, their centre-forward, out. So a weakened Valencia squad in front of no home fans because of
The coronavirus outbreak.
Unfortunately. But not taking anything away from Atalanta, with like 70, 80 minutes to go, they were comfortably through to the next round, but they just kept pushing, and they wanted to win this game, and they showed they can by winning 4-3.
Yeah, look, I agree with you from the sense of Atalanta being sort of like a dark horse here. I think that would be more of a darker horse context more than RB Leipzig at the moment. I don't think anyone expected them to be in a position that they are at the moment. But a big win on aggregate, to be honest.
Yeah.
Smashing Valencia at home. This was in pre-coronavirus issues at the moment. But to come back to Valencia, again, I understand that there is no crowd, and Valencia missing sort of that 12th man sort of element to the game. But Atalanta did what they did. They knew what to do. They knew how to attack. They knew when to defend. And I think they just preyed on, like you said, Valencia's injury problems, and they got the job done. When you have a player that's in form, such as the way Ilicic is, 4 goals in one game, I think you feel sorry for him that he couldn't be able to do it in front of any fans for himself.
Yeah, that's true. Look, 2 of his goals did come from penalties. One of them very, very early on, within 90 seconds of the game starting. So putting yourself in Valencia's shoes, you're already down, and then you concede a goal so early in the game to a penalty, which undeniably was a penalty, is a 100%. But he scored 2 goals because of penalties, and his other 2 goals were absolute screamers. So you can't take anything away from him. Well done to Ilicic. And we were talking about this off air, actually, Fats. I would love to see Atalanta go up against Leipzig. I think it'll be a great game to see one of those 2 teams who aren't, these massive teams in Europe progress to maybe a semi-final.
Look, we're going to have to wait and see because, again, like I've said regarding the RB Leipzig, are they going to have another game to play for? We're looking at Atalanta and going, okay, they're playing great. They're playing this. They're smashing teams. Even in Serie A, like you just said, how many goals was it? 83, 84 goals or whatever it was?
It's in all competitions, so that's including Champions League.
Even take out all the Champions League goals, I think they're the most scoring team in Serie A at the moment.
Yeah, they are.
So you look at these teams and go, okay, are they an actual threat? Can they actually go and win it? If the games do end up playing and this comp actually does finish, do they actually have a chance of going up against Atletico Madrid and breaking that wall, or going up against Barcelona and out attacking them?
Yeah.
So look, we're gonna have to wait and see how this all pans out. But again, an 8-4 victory on aggregate.
Yeah, against a reputable side like
a
Valencia.
team that's been there before.
That's right.
It's a team that's been there before, and look, for Atalanta, this is their debut Champions League season and their debut game in their knockout stages, and in my opinion, to go for it comfortably.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I reckon if you get RB Leipzig and Atalanta to go head to head in the next game, it's just going to be an absolute cracker because it's just 2 teams that aren't afraid to attack.
And they've got nothing to lose. You don't have that pressure on you as a big club, so you're going to go out there and do everything you can to try and go on to that next stage of competition.
Exactly. Before we move into the massive game, Liverpool and Atletico Madrid, we had the other game, which was also in the balance as well, PSG and Dortmund. PSG won that 2-0. They recovered from their first leg loss in Germany. They did play in front of an empty crowd, even though Neymar celebrated like he was watching all 20,000 in front of him. But yeah, they managed to get the job done.
Yeah, look, especially no Mbappe, and off air you made it apparent to me that he was only just cleared to play. I
think it was like half an hour before the game.
So he was spectating, and you could see how happy he got with the second goal that came for PSG. Look, no Mbappe, no supporters. You'd think, PSG's got the worst part of the stick on this one, but they came out, they did it. What really was evident for me was how much homework PSG did. Now, if you paid attention to this game, especially the first goal with Neymar, it was a worked corner kick. You can see that everyone knew what they were doing. 2-3 players from PSG ran front post, and the whole Dortmund defense just left Neymar completely open in the middle for an easy tap in. Now, with your goalkeeper experience, you were quick to point out that keeper should have rushed forward, should have taken that ball, but you can't take credit away for executing something that you planned from PSG. It was just really, really well taken corner, easy goal for them, put them 1-0 in front. But the other thing, even as someone who doesn't understand football at the greatest level to be coaching it, if you said to me, how do you stop Dortmund in this game? I'd say, don't give the ball to Haaland. Now, if you watch this game, Haaland didn't touch the ball many times at all. In fact, PSG's defense was so efficient and so well planned.
They were structured.
They didn't allow Dortmund to have too many shots inside the 18-yard box. All their shots were forced to be taken from distance. It's hard to hit the target. Even if they hit the target, you've got a goalkeeper there. So it was just very, very well organized. It was well planned, and they carried out the win with ease.
Oh, look, with a team like the way PSG is, and just to correct you, Mbappe was cleared. He did get subbed on in the second half.
He didn't make the first 11.
Yeah, a player like Mbappe would be 100% in your front line, especially 2-1 down going against Dortmund. But look, with a team like PSG against a team like Dortmund have never been good on the road. Okay, even in the group stages, when it comes against the big teams, they seem to just sort of flounder against the teams. And to be honest, I sort of expected a bit more from them because, one, they're missing a home crowd here.
Yeah.
So it's literally like a training ground game for them. Did Haaland maybe miss feeding off that environment that sort of hates him? I'm not sure, but yeah, I agree with you 100%. It was tactic Haaland for PSG. Don't give him the ball. Don't let him run. We saw it in the first game in his second goal. He took the ball and just ran at the defense. In this game, they kept that ball away from him as much as possible. I feel like also Neymar sort of stepped up here.
Oh, I was going to come to that as a point. Yeah, I think we're seeing a happy Neymar.
Oh, look, when was it? It was last year and the year before how they were arguing about, okay, are we going to sell him? Are we not going to sell him? Do we sell him, keep Mbappe, or do we please Neymar, sell Mbappe? It just seems like those two are now sort of finding that gel amongst each other, which is a very good thing.
You can see it off the field as well with their dancing, their TikTok, and you can see that they're bonding.
Instagram, Snapchat, the whole social media aspect to every single team at the moment, unfortunately. But yeah, you can see it. You can see him sort of not leading the team. I think leading the team is probably wrong, but it was more along the lines of, okay, we have a job to get done here, and I'm considered one of the top 5 players in the world. Let me be a top 5 player. Okay, enough with that running on the floor. Rolling on the floor. He touched me, he blinked me, so I'm gonna roll to the other side of the substitute bench and stuff like that. Enough with that. Just do what you have to do.
A more mature Neymar.
A more mature Neymar, and I think ever since the I think it was the World Cup. Ever since the World Cup, or even in Copa America and all that type of stuff, he kept getting absolute negative feedback from the fans, the media, and everything about his rolling, and everyone just had enough. Okay, and I think the emergence of Mbappe has sort of said, okay, you know what, I need to step my game up again. I can't be number 2 here. I left Barcelona because I didn't want to be in Messi's shadow. I know he wants to go back. Apparently, it's always a done deal in the summer for him to always go back, and it never happens. But look, in the first goal, you saw it yourself. The whole Dortmund defense just suddenly had a FIFA glitch and just started running towards the near post. And I think a normal Neymar would have either went for a trip or a penalty shout or something like that. He went for a diving header. But I do agree. I think, in my opinion, that was a goalkeeper error. It's almost in the 6-yard box here. And I think a keeper like, say, Oblak or even Alisson would have 100% caught that in midair. Take your time and move on from there.
Yeah. Look, another controversial thing in that game was the sending off of Emre Can. There was a definite yellow card in the foul. Referee decided to give him a second yellow card for the aggression that he showed. I have no doubt that he should have been sent off. Any aggressive behavior should be. But I wanted to bring to the attention Marquinhos. Now, he ran from defense when all this push and shove started. He ran like 50 yards to be a part of it, came in and pushed some players, and he was given a yellow card for it. Now, in your opinion, Fatih, for 100%, there's no room for this in football. Do you think that behavior like this needs to be punished greater? Like, should he have been sent off? What are your opinions?
As in Emre Can or Marquinhos?
No, Marquinhos.
Look, there was I think you raised that question at the most beautiful time. There was a game, I think it was today, in Brazil. They had a sort of not. This one was more PG rated compared to the one that it was in Brazil. It was more intense, I think more punches thrown and all that type of stuff. It was pretty wild. The ref gave 8 red cards.
Wow. So
in that scenario, look, they're always going to look at the instigator. It's sort of similar to every sport. The NRL is the best example. The punches thrown policy. And it's like, okay, do you stand there and go, okay, I get punched or I get pushed or I get slapped or whatever's happening and I just cop everything? Or does your teammates come and help out?
Yeah.
Does your teammates get flared up in that scenario? You're never going to stop that. That's just human nature. As soon as you see a teammate something happening to them, you're going to want to get involved.
Yep.
There's people who do take it overboard, okay, whether it's people like Joey Barton or all the players that absolutely lose their minds in some scenarios. But look, Emre Can, I reckon 100% red card.
Oh, he pushed Neymar even after the incident, so it was definitely a red card.
100% red card. But it's more along the lines of where do you stop then?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if a keeper runs 60 meters to get involved, do you give him a red too?
It's just the reason I asked the question was by the time Marquinhos had obviously ran that 50 meters to get to the incident, it had sort of calmed down and then he came in like sort of flared back up again. So from a referee's point of view where you're being criticised of, does he have control of the game? What did he do to stop this event? I don't know. I feel like it could be punished more harshly so that it does stop players who come and instigate this argument or this push and shove once again after it had already been settled. So, but it's just a difference of opinion, and I wanted to get your opinion on it.
Look, at the end of the day, they have VAR for possible red card scenarios. I think that is a possible red card. So not a possible, it is a red card situation. But again, I sort of feel like, to what extent do you go to?
Mm-hmm.
Do you yellow card everyone that ran 10, 15 meters or 20 meters and stuff like that? And then red card to who actually pushed and shoved. I think you'd be left with 7 versus 7 by the end of half the game. So move on to the big one.
The heartbreaking
The
one.
heartbreaking one for the Liverpool supporters in this one. The 3-2 loss in extra time to Atletico Madrid. Atletico did lead 1-0 into the second leg. They put on a masterclass of a defensive display. Liverpool just not getting out of the gates in the first leg.
Mm-hmm.
In the second leg, I feel like it was completely opposite for Liverpool.
Yeah, completely dominated the game. I mean, they brought up some stats about the game that has been memed to be in FIFA 19 and FIFA 20. When you're playing against a friend, you take 50 shots and you score 1. And Atletico just really took advantage of their chances and were clinical in their finishing.
Oh, look, at the end of the day, some people, look, it was a goalkeeper error. The first goal that Atletico Madrid did end up scoring. Adrian, his pass out or his coming out of his box sort of pass wasn't the best in the best scenario, going straight to an Atletico Madrid player or putting his players in a harder position. But look, if you watch that clip clearly, you can clearly see that when the shot's being taken, he's sort of still in midair. So I'm not saying from a jumping perspective, but from a stance of a goalkeeper getting ready to dive.
Mm-hmm.
And that scenario, you're already stuffed up, because by the time you figure out what position you're going to dive or which direction you're going, the ability for you to move has already finished.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can clearly see it that even if he did get to the floor in time, the ball was already long gone past him.
Yeah.
So, look, I think the biggest problem for Liverpool is, why did it go to extra time?
Yeah, well, they should have finished it before, when they were dominating the game. Robertson, of course, had the shot come off the crossbar. There was a chance not taken well by Firmino. It shouldn't have gone into extra time. But before we move on from goalkeeper errors, Fats, I'm gonna be a bad guy here, and so it's a little bit ironical actually. Early in the season, when Alisson was out, Adrian stepped up and he became this hero, where we didn't miss Adrian as Liverpool supporters. We didn't miss Alisson as Liverpool supporters while Adrian was in. It was just unfortunate, but Adrian wasn't in his element, in my opinion. Now, early on in the game, before he even conceded a goal, João Felix took a shot and he made a complete mess of this save, right? He rebounded off. He had to jump up, collect it. In fact, he copped the ball in the throat after this incident. And then, of course, with the incident that you named where he's halfway in the air, wasn't positioned right. But even the second goal that he conceded, as a goalkeeper, and I think you can agree with me here, you're taught to stay near post. And he conceded the goal near post. He didn't even have his near post covered. So when that shot came in, it was like Adrian was too out of position to even do anything about it.
Look, it could be the fact that, look, from a mental point of view, he's like, okay, I stuffed up. And I think he just never recovered from that.
It plays on you, yeah.
Just for more insult to injury, I think if Morata is scoring against you, you're not having a good day. So, okay. But look, the second goal, some keepers would have kept it out, some keepers wouldn't. I think if you had Alisson, it would have completely been a different story, possibly with Liverpool progressing through. Look, again, this all happened in extra time, but
that's right.
For me, I've always still stuck to it that in this game, that why did it go to extra time?
Yeah.
Like, you look at some of the shots that Salah took. He would put that in if he gave it back to 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, there's one that he dribbles past 2 or 3, puts it on his left foot, and it flies
gone
over the bar.
Exactly right. So in those scenarios, you look at Salah and go, man, you are having a bad day today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they managed to get through the Atletico defense. The biggest problem for me also is, like, to look at Liverpool as a team, is you're up 2-0. And how did you end up, for a team that was defensively secure for a while and was, almost going undefeated in the Premier League, how did that suddenly just happen? Because it's not like Atletico suddenly threw 10, 15, so not 15, but 10, 11 players, even the goalkeeper in the box or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was more along the lines of, okay, there's 2, 3 players up there, and they managed to score on all 3 occasions.
Yeah.
So look, if you look at the stats, you had 34 shots
Mm-hmm.
and 11 shots on target. Oblak was having an amazing game, one of the best keepers in the world, in my opinion. I think him and Allison definitely up there for top 2. Even like, you'd be absolutely spoilt to have Oblak in the team, and he really did show his worth in this game. But for Liverpool, it's more along the lines of it's just one of those games that Atletico just knew what to do, and it's their first home loss in over a year.
Yeah, well, it wasn't the first time as well. Liverpool, in the last 6 games against Atletico, have only won 1. And Atletico came out, they did the job. And look, the last few weeks for Liverpool haven't been the greatest. I mean, you lose to Chelsea in the FA Cup, and then you're going on this invincible season. You lose 3-0 to Watford, get absolutely smashed, and then to lose away at Atletico, it started to, I think, play a little bit on the minds of these players. But something we've talked about as well throughout the season, Fatih, has Liverpool just played too many games this season? Is it finally starting to catch up with them?
I did say that to a few Liverpool supporters before it started, where the crucial time would be, for me, I said it would be December. The December, January.
Just before the break,
correct,
yes.
and they had the Club World Cup, and they flew past
It was
that.
flawless, yeah.
But now it's more along the lines of, we're reaching the sort of end of the season, and now because you've progressed through the FA Cup, the Premier League, and the Champions League, you're literally playing almost 3 games a week every week. There's no rest period for your team.
Mm-hmm.
Klopp could have taken the whole, I'm going to put my 16s on in the FA Cup, but he didn't, because you're starting to reach a stage where it's like, okay, maybe I can make semis and quarters or even go on to win it.
You're chasing silverware, yeah.
Exactly. And look, Premier League is all but wrapped up. We don't know how it's going to end because of the outbreak at the moment, unfortunately. But I can't see it being fatigue, because if you look at the way the team was performing, they were over. Like, Atletico Madrid were literally stuck in their box.
Yeah.
They had nothing to... I think it was just bad finishing. Play that game again, I think Liverpool's got it easy.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, they're out. The whole retain the Champions League and win the Premier League in 1 year, might have to wait till next year.
Yeah, well, even with the way things are looking, it looks like we're not even going to lift a trophy this year for the EPL.
Oh, look, I reckon you guys, you're going to lift the trophy, whether it's going to be in front of a full stadium or not. I would not have a clue about that. So, look, that wraps up the Champions League for us, and usually we head back into Premier League territory now, but we really can't head into it because we don't know what the hell's happening at the moment.
Yeah, well, look, it's shaken up the whole sports world. As we know, NBA has been cancelled. Talks of NFL. Even back here at home, the rugby league are starting as of next week to play games without crowds, and this is how it started. I mean, we had PSG who played without a home crowd, and they lit up the streets of Paris. But it looks like it's being stopped altogether now, Fats.
Yeah, look, I'm just going to go on a bit of a corona talk here, if you want to call it that. Look, just a brief update on exactly what's happening. So you got the coronavirus that's happening. For anyone that's been living under a rock, it's just a virus that's just swept over pretty much the whole entire world.
China, Italy, Iran.
Yeah. The 3 main countries is China, Iran, and Italy, unfortunately. China being the outbreak origin from Wuhan. We're looking at nearly 134,000 cases. Mm-hmm. Okay, out of that, it's been just under 5,000 deaths. That was as of this morning. And from a mortality rate, it's higher than the flu. Mm-hmm. Okay, but on a positive note, you have just under 69,000 that have recovered, that have actually had the virus. Now, from a sports perspective, like you just touched on yourself, it's NBA is on suspension. I think the NBL is on suspension. The NFL is not progressing. The news came out that the Australian F1 Grand Prix is cancelled as well. Mm-hmm. So this is just affecting everyone across the board. From a footballing perspective, let me see if I can get this correct at the moment, because there's so many different... Every league has just taken a different step of their own here. Mm-hmm. So Serie A is currently suspended till early April at this stage. Mm-hmm. Okay, but they gave them the go-ahead from a European football perspective. But because Italy is the number 2 country that has the virus outbreak at the moment.
Probably number one, actually.
Well, besides China.
Yeah.
Besides China, they're number one.
Mm-hmm.
Their jump in deaths is just horrible at the moment on a daily basis. So they did give them permission for the Champions League games, but unfortunately, a lot of teams don't want to travel there. They did give options to a lot of teams to pull out of the competitions. UEFA did give Roma and Inter apparently options to pull out, which obviously you're going to decline. You don't want to pull your teams out for any reason whatsoever because it's going to affect everyone across the board. Unfortunately, you can't really say, okay, it's his blame or that blame or blame someone. It's just something that everyone just needs to get together and just talk about or just to deal with it and find a solution for it. La Liga is currently suspended. A-League, from an Australian perspective, is currently still in progress.
I think it hasn't hit us as hard as it has with the other countries, though.
Well, at the moment, if we want to look at other sports in the country, the National Rugby League just came out and said that round 1 will go as per normal, unless there's something major happens over the next couple of days or so. However, from round 2, possibly onwards, it's going to be played behind closed doors. And they're just going to be tackling it on as they go along. The MLS is suspended completely. Bundesliga is currently playing behind closed doors, but I think, in my opinion, just the way that it's currently going through Germany, I think they'll head towards
There's suspension coming
head
as well.
towards a suspension. League One is currently playing behind closed doors, but I think will probably follow suit like the Bundesliga themselves. The Turkish league, I think, is playing behind closed doors.
Well, some matches this week will start to be played behind closed doors. I think they're targeting the games that have big crowds, so your derbies, your important games. And
there was 2 big games this weekend.
Well, there is. There's Başakşehir, Trabzon, and there's Galatasaray, Beşiktaş, which are, these 4 teams are the ones that are battling out for the title at the moment. And Galatasaray, Beşiktaş game, it's been confirmed, I think, 99% sure it's been confirmed that there's going to be no crowd there. Galatasaray fans and the board obviously are not happy with this. They're talking about suspending games for the next couple of months so that they can play in front of a home crowd.
And that's just Turks being ignorant there.
Well, yeah, but how much does this affect the game? I mean, from a financial perspective especially, let's not talk about the unfairness of not having a home crowd behind you, your 12th man at the games. From a financial perspective, you're talking ticket sales, you're talking about merchandise, you're talking about, food at the venues, you're talking about travel, you're talking about players not getting paid. We touched on this. And how much it affects them. You're talking about TV rights now because, I don't know, if the games are completely being suspended, then no one's watching the games. Big money at stake because of an unforeseeable event.
100%, I totally agree. From a financial point of view, I think not even just football, it's any sporting event across the nation. And take our sports, any business-related incidents, and even the stock markets are all crashing at the moment. So I'm not too sure exactly what the scenario is because from a financial point of view, like you just pointed out, we're heading into the 3 massive comps that was heading towards the end of the championships, if that makes sense. So you got the Champions League at the moment who suspended Manchester City and Real Madrid's game and Juventus and Lyon's game. So when would you give that? When would you put those games to be played? And unfortunately, from a schedule restructure, you got the Premier League that's out. So you got Man City that just currently missed a game against Arsenal as well, and you're getting them to miss a game against Real Madrid, and you're just going to chuck those 2 games in. They're not going to play this game within 24, 48 hours. Especially the way that it's currently going at the moment. You don't know when you can play these games or if you're going to play these games at all.
Well, your schedule gets a little bit tighter because you've got international competition at the end of the season as well. You've got Euros coming up.
And they don't even know at the moment what they're going to do with that one.
That's
because,
right.
Look, you got the Champions League who's, I reckon, heading towards a possible suspension as well. At the moment, I believe Chelsea and Bayern are still scheduled to play behind closed doors. But like we said about the Bundesliga and playing behind closed doors, I think at the moment Bundesliga adds a suspension. I think Bayern will follow suit in this. I think with Callum Hudson-Odoi becoming positive tested this morning, unfortunately, it just puts a smile on your face because you're hysterical. You're hysterical as in like, where does it stop now?
Yeah.
Because now they got to look at every player he's played with or he's touched. Did he do it? Did he have it when he was when he was sitting on a bench somewhere? Did he do it when he was in his house? Like, he just keeps going on.
That's
from
right.
there.
And how what's the word? It's running away from me. It's being taken seriously. If you saw Klopp come out in the Champions League game against Atletico, one of the fans stuck his hand into the tunnel to like get a high five from him, and he told him to fuck off, you fucking idiot. Like, he just pushed his hand away. So obviously there's this whole fear about it. Obviously these teams are being educated about it. But at the same time, like you said, how do you contain something like this? Like, you can sit somewhere where Hudson-Odoi has sat in the last, 2-3 days, and you're going to get it. And you have a stadium full of 50,000 people. If this gets passed around, it just becomes even worse outside. It just keeps spreading.
Exactly. It's more along the lines of everyone's talking about quarantine, but you got to retrace your steps here. Yeah. So I don't know how that's possible. So at the moment, the three major comps, the UEFA comps, which is the Champions League, the Europa League, and the Euros, I believe that there is discussions. There's discussions for Champions League and Europa League to be suspended. How they're going to fit that in, no idea. Euros is potentially going to be pushed back next year, so it'll be Euro 2021. Mm-hmm. So we also got to look at it from this perspective as well, like, because the Euros and the World Cup are all scheduled accordingly. Okay. Plus, you also got the UEFA Nations League and all those games coming up as well. So if Euros gets pushed back, does World Cup qualifiers get pushed back? Yeah. Does World Cup get pushed back? Do you fit another Euros within 3 years? Do you scrap the UEFA? Do you know what I mean? Like, all these types of questions are starting to start to come up.
Yeah.
And with no end in sight, what's possible at the moment, no one knows. And I think everyone's just finding a temporary solution as just more info comes up. So with these three comps, I have no idea how they would fit it in, considering you have a major tournament coming up and how all this is going to progress.
Yeah.
To the major league itself, or in my opinion, the most entertaining league in the world. The Premier League is going to make a decision, I think, come tomorrow morning or on Monday morning, their time, about what needs to be done, because at the moment they were playing behind closed doors, or it was just play as you go at the moment. Mm-hmm. Now, just give me a quick recap on what's happened in the Premier League. So you had Callum Hudson-Odoi give a positive test this morning. You had Mikel Arteta from Arsenal, the manager itself, give a positive test this morning. You had 3 Leicester players put into isolation because they're having the symptoms at the moment. There's no positive result there. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 games gone already. Mm-hmm. If you were to play the other games. Now, you don't know what's going to come up in the next 24 hours. Mm-hmm. If a Manchester United player gets it or a Liverpool player gets it. So you could just imagine how this is going to go now. Imagine a Liverpool player that was in the Atletico Madrid game gets it. So now you got to retrace your steps between how many different people there. Yeah. You had 20 players on the field, 22 players on the field. You got to retrace the steps. So literally every single person there.
Yeah.
So you got to go from like, it's caught the whole world by surprise. That's literally it. Like, even to the point where FIFA will postpone South American qualifier games.
Yeah.
So you've already put yourself back for 2022 World Cup qualifier games, and you got to fit them in. So we're talking about players like Neymar. We're talking about pretty much a Brazilian player, any Argentinian player. You got Messi. You got anyone from Colombia. You got anyone from any one of those South American countries that needs to be omitted from whatever club they're in to go play these qualifiers.
Yeah.
So it's literally put at
As a club, do you put that risk on your player? Top players have voiced their opinions on this as well. They're saying that we don't want to play, and the football union, the European Football Union, is saying that we don't want our players playing in this. So I don't know. It's a bit of a mixed thing. At the same time, off air, we talked about, you got players who've got contracts who are running out, and you don't know if this is going to last 3 months, 4 months, or if the competitions are going to start up again next season. So what happens to these players who don't have contracts? What happens to these players who get paid on a per game basis?
Yeah, anything to do from a contract perspective is going to hurt every team, even every federation possible, because we touch base on this from a contract perspective. We also touch base on from a transfer market perspective, because transfer market opens up in, 2-3 months?
Mm-hmm.
And do you really want to spend money, or do you omit a transfer window because you can't buy anyone?
Mm.
Or do you buy someone hoping that this finishes up in 3-4 months and that player can play? But imagine spending £120 million and the whole year there's no football.
Yeah.
You're literally paying a player to sit on the bench for you, and you're losing money pretty much every single game.
Yeah.
So look, I don't know if any club knows what to do at the moment, if any federation, and this goes across the sporting world.
Yeah.
UFC at the moment is also saying that their upcoming fight, I think their fight night is going to be behind. I think they only have 100 staff in the whole stadium or in the whole place itself. So I think eventually that might even get to a point where it's going to get cancelled, because that's the most touchy sport in the pretty much.
Yeah, well, you're taking in each other's sweat. You're literally in each other's faces.
Exactly. So you can see the amount of stress that every federation is going through, and you can just imagine from a football perspective, because these guys take photos, these guys sign autographs, these guys are in ads. All of this will have to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So it literally puts a stop on the entire sporting world, pretty much. So at the moment, if anyone asks for what would you do, I would say I have no idea. I dead set would not have no idea.
And the worst part of it, Fats, that you didn't mention is if football competitions around the world are all suspended, then there's no offside talk.
Exactly.
So we're going to sit here and just give you guys coronavirus updates week by week.
Will be your weekly corona update. Look, it's even affecting broadcasting channels.
Yeah.
I mean, from an Australian perspective, our Optus just give away one of their segments at the moment, which I think was Soccer on Sunday or Sports on Sunday. I forgot the name for it. And from their perspective, they're not willing to put the their staff, their presenters, their broadcasters all in harm's way, because then they're liable for this.
That's right.
So I don't know. I really don't know.
Look, I don't want to end episode 1 on YouTube on a depressing note. So just moving away from the coronavirus, from both of us at Offside Talk, we hope that this does get resolved as soon as possible and with the least amount of disruption, so that we can enjoy the football and the sport that we all love. Just want to introduce a segment to you, Fats, just before we finalise our first episode on YouTube, of course. This segment's called Onside, Offside. And the way it works is I ask you a few controversial questions. If you agree with it, you say onside. If you don't agree with it, you say offside. And we'll have a little bit of a discussion around it. So,
what about if it's a maybe? Do I say VAR or something? Or
maybe we can make that up for future episodes. And hopefully there's no sitting on the fence here.
Yeah, hit me.
But the first question...
So onside was yes.
Onside is yes,
okay,
and offside is no. Your first question, it's a way out there one. So
onside. No, go. Yeah.
Timo Werner, would he be in your top 5 strikers to invest in at the moment?
Invest in, as in to buy.
Bring him to your club, because consider the fact that his age, the skills that he brings to your club. Is he someone that you see, if you had to make a top 5 list? Obviously, Mbappe would be one of them. As a striker or a forward in your team, is he someone that you would say is top 5 to invest in?
Definitely onside, 100%. He's one of the most lethal strikers in Europe at the moment. I think, considering the age that he is as well, and considering he is playing Champions League football, he is playing for a team that's contesting for the Bundesliga, 100%.
All right. Here's a big one. Has the quality of the EPL not met expectations this season, considering we've just seen 2 EPL teams be relegated from the Champions League? Your thoughts? So the question, the quality of the EPL is below expectations this season, onside or offside?
I'm going to say offside. Because if you look at some of the teams, you got Chelsea, who's in transition, Arsenal, who's in transition, Arsenal, who did fire their coach or their manager, Unai Emery, and they took on Mikel Arteta. They're still in a transition at the moment. Tottenham fired Pochettino, and they hired Mourinho, so you sort of give him a write-off as well. I think if you looked at from a team that's actually done horrible perspective, you probably have to say Man City. And I know they're second on the ladder, but compared to where they were the season before, compared to what they are now and how far away they are from Liverpool.
From contending for the title,
I don't think it's been that bad. I think Liverpool just been on fire. That's just what it was. You just look at the way Liverpool's been playing, the gel between the team and everything. They did what they had to do to win every game possible until they met Watford, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But they went, what was it, 27-1 or 28-1 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think the quality or anything has dropped. I think Liverpool just burst out of the gates while the other teams are still trying to figure out where they are.
Fair enough. And the final onside offside question. The Bundesliga has made the correct transfers this season to make it a more quality league.
I think from a transfer perspective, maybe not. But like we discussed about RP Leipzig, I think a new team coming up and trying to push the big boys out of the way has helped the Bundesliga a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And considering they just progressed through to the next round of the Champions League, like I said, wherever it goes, whether it's playing or not, that's the standard that they're at now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for them to keep it. So from a transfer perspective, possibly not. But from a competition perspective, having a lot of one or two more teams competing for the top is a very good thing.
Awesome.
Now, I'm going to throw a few questions your way now.
All right.
It's my turn. All right. It's probably not onside, offside, but just more simple, whatever you... Yes or no, or onside, offside, whatever you want. All right. Now, I asked you this question before. I never got a proper answer from you.
Okay.
So would you want your Premier League team to rule domestically for 10 years or to win the Champions League 5 years straight? This is what I'm talking about Liverpool.
I know. It's a hard question. But look, having been starved of a Premier League title for 30 years, it'll be hard not to say to dominate the Premier League. Look, we've tasted Champions League last season. So it's sort of like, all right, I can deal with not winning it for a while. Look, I'd want them to progress and go high in it, but give me the league dominance, I think, any day.
League dominance? All right. Who will win the Premier League title quicker? Arsenal or Tottenham?
Ooh. I think it's a good question, actually. Look,
and
at the moment...
No disrespect to any Arsenal or Tottenham supporters out there. It's just, unfortunately, you're both in the same category at the moment.
It's a tough time for them at the moment. But look, what I think Tottenham has going for them is that they've got Mourinho. If he's still got the spark, if he's able to get the players that he wants, he builds the team that he wants. Look what he did to Man U after Ferguson and after their years of horrible play. So I think Tottenham's got a better chance of winning it before Arsenal does.
So you're going for Tottenham?
Yeah.
All right. Going back to the virus issue, unfortunately, your opinion, should all football competitions be indefinitely delayed due to this virus?
I think so. One is, of course, the risk of spreading it, the health and the well-being of players, coaches, fans. But at the same time, it really throws off the momentum of teams. I mean, put yourself in PSG's position or somebody who's playing in the Champions League or even Galatasaray this week playing Besiktas in a big game. Without fans, you're missing a huge part of what your team is and what your team can do. So... especially when you're playing a second leg against the team, obviously you've played at their home ground, you've played away, and you need those points at home to contend for that title. I think it's unfair to be playing with no 12th man.
I'll take that. And I've got two more for you. Is Aston Villa the flop team of the season?
Without a doubt. I mean, what were they? The highest transfer...
One of the highest spending teams, yeah.
Teams for transfer at the start of the season.
They're currently fighting relegation.
Yeah, and they haven't... Not at any stage in the season have we thought, oh, look, they're on a roll here. It's been win, lose, 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 win, win, lose, lose. They just haven't... It just hasn't worked for them. The players that they brought in hasn't worked. They haven't been able to work together. The chemistry is missing there. At the start of the season, I was excited about Trezeguet going there. Has he had the greatest season? No. But I think there's players who have a higher price tag on their head who've played worse than him. Definitely the flop of the season.
Flop of the season. And the last one, you being a Liverpool supporter, I'd like to hear your answer on this one. Will Liverpool dominate like they did the Premier League this year, if the Premier League does happen next year, again?
Oh, look, I don't want to sound negative. The EPL is the most competitive league in the world, but there are signs that teams are starting to work Liverpool out a little bit. I mean, you've got teams like Watford putting 3 on them. Atletico, who just this week worked Liverpool out sort of thing. Well, they didn't, but they were able to get past them. It's just too hard to say. You have Man City, who almost dominated last season, just wouldn't lose a game towards the end of the season, and then they come out and play a season like they did this year. What changed? Nothing much. I mean, besides them losing defenders early on in the season, nothing has changed. So I don't think Liverpool will dominate as big as this next season.
We're going to have to wait and see if it actually does happen, to be honest, as well.
Yeah. That's a wrap from us, Fats.
That's a wrap from us.
Guys, please follow us on our social media. It's going to be provided. Oh, it's right here. I can't point at it. It's here. On Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Please follow us. It does help us out. We're just starting to think. And share us if you can. The links will also be provided in the description below. It's always awesome to talk football with you, Fats. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening. And with this current outbreak that's happening at the moment, just avoid people. Don't touch anyone. Just put a ring of barrier around you, I guess, and
just do the Klopp and say "fuck off, you idiot."
Pretty much like that. All right.
That's all from us. See you on the next episode.